What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Wiregrass High School Football Report, your weekly look at all things high school football in the Wiregrass. I am your host, Phillip Jordan, in-studio host and producer for Dustin Harrison Football on 96.9. The legend is here. We got through it. We had games this past Thursday and Friday night in week 0. The season has kicked off. We have games so each and every week now. I get to have some games to talk about, some results, some finals to open the show with. So very excited. We got a good amount of week 0 games to talk to you guys about in just a few moments. And also be joined by Cottonwood head coach Dustin Harrison. He will be on. Cottonwood played in the Jamboree on Thursday night against Slocomb. We'll talk about that, get his thoughts, what he learned from his team in there. And also we'll preview their matchup with Northside Methodist coming up this Thursday. Interesting matchup there. And look, I'll go ahead and pull the curtain back. I am a Cottonwood graduate from 2005. But the Northside Methodist, they are coached by Toby Green, who used to coach at Cottonwood. And Coach Harrison at one time was the head coach of Northside Methodist. So just, one of the little interesting things going into that matchup, which they played last year, an overtime matchup. Cottonwood won at Repuse. So let's see if those two can have an exciting matchup this time around to open up the season for Cottonwood, which will be the second game for Northside Methodist, which we'll get into the result from Thursday night in just a few moments. And then after we talk with Coach Harrison, we will look at the schedule for this week. Week 1, full slate of games. Teams that did not play this past week in week 0 are playing this week. So a full slate of games to get you guys caught up on there. But before we jump into all that, let you guys know you can find me in the podcast. You can find me on social media at PJordanSCC. Podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, so please follow, rate, and review. You can also listen over on 969thelegend.com. You can also check out the show and watch it over on my YouTube page, Phillip Jordan Sports. Just look it up, Phillip Jordan Sports, YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all notifications. And if you leave a comment on the Wiregrass High School Football Report episodes, I will read that on a future edition as well. And you can always email me at sports.phillipjordan@gmail.com. Now let's look at week 0. Let's go around the Wiregrass. All right, everybody, now let's jump into the week 0 matchups from this past Thursday and Friday. And we do start off on Thursday where Andalusia defeated Opp 35-7. Andalusia jumped out 20-0 at halftime. Andalusia was ranked number 3 in 4A, Opp number 4 in 3A. So two really good teams kicking off the season there. A big win for Andalusia. Northside Methodist defeated Houston County 42-20 to open up their season at Repuse Stadium. It was 16-6 going into the fourth quarter. Northside outscored Houston County 26-14 in the fourth quarter, 40 combined points there. Running back J.J. Smith for Northside Methodist had 135 yards. And quarterback Harrison Hicks had 2 touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. Now we jump into Friday night, and you would have heard this game right here on 96.9 The Legend. Dothan defeated Carroll 45-19 to kick off the Jed Kennedy era with a victory. Now Dothan did trail early, 13-0 in this one. Carroll won a 73-yard, 11-play drive that went over 5.5 minutes to go up 6-0. Failed on the extra point. The very next possession, Dothan did get close to midfield, but they fumbled, and Carroll's Taylon Vickers picked it up for a 39-yard touchdown run to put Carroll up 13-0 with 5:15 left in the first quarter. And then Braxton Hornsby at Dothan set them up good for the Wolves, getting them near midfield. And just the next play, Tamarian Peterson took a direct snap for 44-yard touchdown to get Dothan with a 13-8. They went for 2 after that. Then the Wolves would go on, they would get the lead, and it was 24-19 in the third quarter, but Dothan would extend there in the fourth quarter, like I said, to win the game 45-19. The Wolves scored on 5 of 6 possessions and holding Carroll to 7 first downs and 6 punts in the 6 points, for the rest of the game. The Dothan offense was clicking on the ground for 348 yards on just 36 attempts for a 9.7 average. Only 1 official pass in the game. The scores on the night, Raymond Blackman had a 42-yard touchdown and a 1-yard touchdown. Tamarian Peterson also had 3 touchdowns on the game. He had another 40-yard plus touchdown as well. And Octavius Thomas had a 3-yard touchdown run in the game. Now, continue on with Friday night. We're going to stay in 7A Region 2 teams. Enterprise defeated Bay High 41-7 to kick off the Ben Blackman era. Their Enterprise, of course, he is replacing Rick Darlington. It was just 14-0 at halftime, but Enterprise really distanced himself there in the second half. Michael Johnson had 3 touchdowns in the game. Houston Academy defeated Wicksburg 28-0. 3 touchdown passes from Caden Mitchell, two to Will Wells, and 1 to Riggs Hickey. Headland defeated Geneva in a very entertaining game, 38-26. Jackson Williams for Headland at quarterback had 3 touchdowns on 186 yards rushing, and he was 8 of 10 passing for 29 yards. Also on the ground for Headland, Luke, 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. Connor Cook added with 9 tackles. Kingston Tolbert had 110 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns for Geneva. Ayrton defeated Dale County 60-28. Ayrton quarterback Ian Sin was 15-23 for 295 passing and 5 touchdowns. Jordan Smith was 241 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. For Dale County, DeMarcus Smith had 126 yards and 1 touchdown. And Christian Ross, a Memphis commit, he had 7 catches for 124 yards and a 15-yard touchdown. Highland Home defeated Providence 28-6. It was tied 6-6 early, but then the Flying Squadron pulled away. Abbeville defeated Beulah 26-0. Montavious Conley had 207 yards in the game, and Kinston defeated Sampson 34-12 in that one. And then finishing up with the rest of the games on Friday night, Elba defeated New Brockton 40-8. Elba led 33-0 at halftime. Alvin Henderson had 191 yards and 3 touchdowns, and also on the ground, JT Coleman had 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. Goshen defeated Daleville 38-19, and then Abbeville Christian defeated Coosa Valley Academy 21-0. And that is this week's edition of Around the Wiregrass. We're sure to have a whole lot more scores on next week's show when more teams are getting going and playing their first games this week, and some teams will be playing their second game of the season. All right, guys, now we're going to go to my conversation I had early on Sunday with Cottonwood head coach Dustin Harrison. All right, everybody, joining me on the show this week is Cottonwood Bears head coach Dustin Harrison. And Coach Harrison, I appreciate you coming on the show this week and talk about the Cottonwood Bears.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Anytime I can talk about Cottonwood, I'm down. All
right, glad to have you on here. And I know you guys played a Jamboree on Thursday night. I know some teams in the area got going this past week. But against Slocomb on Thursday night, varsity won 26-0. Just coming out of the Jamboree, what did you learn about your team?
Well, we did a lot of things good, a lot of things right. Our effort was great, and physicality was good. We lacked a lot of execution in different places, different spots, and that's usually to be expected for your first time playing in the fall. So a lot of stuff to fix as far as execution goes, and mental things to fix. But the effort was really good, and that's what we preach, because that's something they can control at all times. And the effort was great, physicality was great, attitudes were good, and so we're really proud of them for that much.
You know, how much is a benefit is playing in a Jamboree leading up to your first game season? That way you do get that game feel, that game action going into that first game.
Well, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. You know, I mean, there's usually most teams improve the most from their first game to their second game, and so obviously you're going to get better from 1 week to the next. You know, and so that's an advantage. But you know, both teams, it's their first game, so it's not like you know, the first game you play, that team's not any more prepared than you are either. So where I think it would be a big-time disadvantage if you didn't have any type of game or Jamboree week 0, and then you played week 1 against somebody else that did. I think you actually have a big disadvantage in that situation.
So how's it been with the team, you know, going through the spring practice into the summer as you went into fall camp? What's been the energy level? What's been, you know, what's been a lot with the team?
Their attitudes this year are fantastic. They're focused. They're locked in. Our players are taking ownership. Lots of, you know, we really try to push ownership on the players, meaning that we want them to see this as their team, not as the head coach's team, not as the assistant coach's team, not as the administration's team, but as their team. This is their team. They're the ones that put blood, sweat, and tears on the field, on the practice field, in the weight room, for this team, for this program. And so ultimately it's theirs to take care of. And if you own something, if you own a vehicle, for instance, it's going to really bother you if somebody comes up and tries to damage it or keys it or mess up your paint job or pours Coke in your gas tank, then it's going to really upset you, because that's yours. You have ownership of it. Whereas if it's something that you don't own, you think, hey, this is my problem. And the same thing goes for a football team, because you're going to have all kinds of obstacles that come up, and distractions that come up, and people that that try to tear the team down. And so if it's your team and you take ownership of it, then you're going to do everything you can to protect it. And when you get a team full of guys to do that, I think you can do some great things.
Going into the season, on both offense, defense. So, what do you see like your team's biggest strength?
Well, I feel like we have a really good group returning up front on defense. Have a lot of returning starters defensively, especially at inside linebacker, on defensive line, and we have 2 returning starters in the secondary. So I feel like there's, we're pretty strong across the board on that side of football. They're very coachable. They're able to adapt well to different sets, because in high school football, especially 2A, you might play a team that runs the double wing or single wing one week, and then the very next week you might play a team that runs a spread, and then the next week you might play a team that runs a flex bone, and then the next week you might play a team that runs a lot of options. So you just spread options. So you just don't ever know where you're going to get from week to week. So you got to be able to adapt and play sound fundamental football, against whatever you see. And our team's done a good job of that so far.
I know you guys have 8 returning starters on that side of the ball on defense. You got a lot of seniors. I was looking at some of the list of players you guys got coming back. Eli Herring, Ethan McCardle, Colin Strickland up front, and you've got C.J. Carroll, a senior at linebacker, a senior safety with Dylan McCardle. And when you're talking about those different offenses, how big is that when you have a veteran group, a group that's been playing together for a few years? Where that's the thing where they're not going to see something they haven't seen before. So I mean, how big and important is that?
That's really important, because it's one of those things where there's no substitute for experience. And whenever you've been there, done that, and had to do it in a game, not just in practice, it's a big advantage, because some teams may not have guys out there that's been through game situations and had to make calls and checks and had to communicate. And there, like I said, there's substitutes for different things, but there's no substitute for experience.
Oh, when you look at your defense, how would you best describe like the style of defense or the type of defense you like your teams to play? Aggressive,
fundamentally sound, disciplined, and a team that swarms, the defense that swarms to the football.
On the offense side of the ball, you don't have as many starters coming back from there, but you got quarterback coming back, Cade Simmons. You got one offensive lineman, Eli Herring. He's back at receiver, tight end, Ethan McCardle and Dylan McCardle. But when you look at your offense, what have you seen through practice in the Jamboree leading into this opening game this Thursday?
Well, we got lots of playmakers. One thing I noticed from I didn't even know it. I mean, I planned it going into the game using a lot of different guys, but I didn't realize we would use so many until I saw the stat sheet. But we ran 6 different backs, and played 3 different quarterbacks, and played 6 different receivers. So I mean, we got 7 different receivers. So we got lots of depth without much drop off, which is a big advantage when you're talking about 2A high school football. When you have when there's not a whole lot of difference between your first guy and your number 3 guy, then you're in really good shape. And that's kind of what stands out with us is we have lots of new faces there, but they're hungry to learn and they're hungry to work and do the things right, and they want to do things right. So it creates depth when you have that, and depth is really crucial, especially when you get down the middle of the field, middle of the year stretch, and you get people nicked up and whatnot. Having depth is really helps a lot. It also helps in your competition and practice, because competition creates efficiency. When you have people competing, they tend to perform at a higher level. And the more competition you have and you can create in practice, I think the better you're going to be on Thursday night or Friday night when you're playing.
Yeah, when you have competition like that in practice, when against each other, I'm not going to say makes the game easier, but it does make things a little bit different, more simpler, or you kind of play like a game-like atmosphere during the week. So when you get to Friday night or Thursday night, you should be ready to go. Is that kind of like how that kind of works?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you go against somebody in practice that's just as good, or maybe sometimes even possibly better than what you may see on Friday night, then it makes the game easy, so to speak. I'm not saying it's that way all the time, or certainly this week, against a team like Northside, I don't think that that we have lots of scout team guys that are better than anybody they got. But when you got guys that maybe push you, that are really similar in talent to what you'll go against in the game, it's a big time advantage. It makes everything kind of slow down in the game.
You talked about your defense up front, but how about on the offensive line? How's the offensive line looking going into the season?
Well, we're really young, very, very young up front. Have a lot, we have less size than we've had in the past, but we have some really hungry guys up there that are improving a big deal each practice. I would say improving each week. I mean, every single practice, they're getting better and getting more comfortable and getting more experience. And, I think that they'll be, we'll make up for size and experience in other ways. And I've been really pleased with their development. We still have a really, really long way to go there up front, but I really believe we'll get there. We got a great offensive line coach, Kevin Witten, and a great group of kids that are playing there that I have full confidence in to continue to get better and be better each week.
I mentioned you do have your quarterback coming back, Cade Simmons. What have you seen like his development through the summer, spring, summer, and then going into the fall as well?
Well, like I said, there's no substitute for experience, especially at a position like quarterback. Quarterback is obviously the toughest position to play on the field, and they get too much blame when things don't go right, and they get too much credit when things do go right. And it's you got to have a level head, and you got to focus on what you can control and not dwell on the things you can't control. And Caden Simmons has a great ability to focus on what he can control, and he's level headed. He don't get too high, he don't get too low, which is good in a quarterback. Having a full year under his belt, and then 2 spring games he started in now, 1 fall Jamboree, so he's got a lot of experience for a kid that's only had 1 year starting.
So looking to this Thursday night, well, you guys, your home opener, season opener, playing Northside Methodist. Of course, they played a game last week. They played on a Thursday against Houston County. I know we're recording this on a Sunday afternoon, but how much have you been able to see of them, and kind of what sticks out to you?
Well, we changed film Thursday night, or Thursday, I guess I should say the wee hours of the morning Friday. And so we both had each other's film, I guess, now for about 72 hours. And there's only so much you can draw from one game. You got to be real careful not to get too carried away with just having one game of film, because there's the tendencies aren't real strong and can easily be broken. The main thing we're looking at right now is their personnel and how they're trying to use people and things we need to do to play with them. And I think they're a great football team, and I think they got one of the best coaches around. Toby Green's a great coach, and is going to have them ready to play. And he's going to be ready to play when he comes to see us this week. So we're going to have to be ready to play and be focused and locked in and prepared really well this week, especially it being a short week.
Yeah, when you do play a Thursday night game, how does that kind of like change the routine throughout the week?
Well, different coaches do it different ways. What we've always tried to do is our Tuesday practice we'll do on Monday. We'll combine Monday and Tuesday practice and have that top practice on Monday. And then what we typically have is our Wednesday practice we'll do on Tuesday. And then our run through we'll typically do on Wednesday. And so it really it's almost like we subtract a Monday practice and kind of have to do it and attach the Tuesday top practice. Yeah, that makes sense. And so your practices on Monday and Tuesday are going to go a little bit longer since you're losing a whole day. But we try to still keep it concise, because when you get out there too long, you're not accomplishing anything for anybody. So we try to still be very efficient with our time, but sometimes it goes 10, 15 minutes longer than usual.
I mean, I'm sure though. Okay, you have a short week going into it, but when you play that Thursday game, you have an extra day the next week. So that's got to be, in a way, that's got to be a benefit too. When you do play that short week, the rare times you do it, you do have an extra day for the next week.
Absolutely. I mean, Thursday nights are my favorite. I enjoy those more than any. I love playing a Thursday night game for a lot of reasons, and that's one of the big ones. It gives you an extra day to prepare for your opponent and to rest, recover, and it's exciting, especially when you're playing a home Thursday night game, because you usually have a good crowd. There's less other games going around. Usually you have a really good crowd there, which is also fun, and to me it's exciting to have the challenge to prepare in a shorter amount of time. I've always enjoyed it, and I like it.
All right, before I let you go, there's a question I've been asking coaches this year. I know last year I had you on, I probably asked you what you think about Friday Night Live. So this year a little bit different. We'll close this conversation out with the coaches. Just when you're away from football, when the season's over with, when everything's kind of calmed down for you, what are some other things you enjoy doing?
Things I enjoy doing, I enjoy grilling. That's one of my favorite hobbies. Is I'll smoke ribs or smoke brisket or tenderloin or things of that nature. I enjoy doing that. Enjoy cooking. I enjoy obviously spending time with my family, because when it's not football season, I try to make up for lost time. It's hard to be, it's a big time struggle to be an excellent dad during football season. It's tough because you always feel like you're either selling your kids short and your wife short, or selling your team short, and it's really a tough thing to juggle. And so I've taught a lot of coaches around, because it's always kind of bothered me, because I want to be an excellent coach, but I want to be an even better dad. I think that's even more important, and it's tough to balance. And what I've gathered from other coaches I have a lot more experience with is they say, try to include your kids in everything you do during the season as much as possible, but then in the off season, that's where you really got to make it for lost time. And they say it's okay to have a busy season, as long as every season don't turn into a busy season, if that makes sense. As long as you have downtime in the winter and spring, summer, it's okay to have a busy fall, but you gotta make your family a priority. And I enjoy spending time with my family and my wife, and that's about the only thing I get to do on the downtime. We're either going somewhere on a quick trip, or I'm in the backyard grilling and watching them and pushing them on a swing set, and just enjoy hanging out with the family.
Absolutely. That's been
I used to enjoy hunting, but since I've been married, my hunting has taken a big hit. But hoping that when my son Wade gets a little bit older, that I'll rekindle that passion of deer hunting. But until then, I'm probably limited on the amount of times I can go hunting.
Yeah, family's been the number one answer so far this season when I've asked that question. But, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time coming on the show this week, talk about your Bears, talk about the upcoming game this Thursday night against Northside Methodist. I know I told you off air I will be there. I plan on attending the game, checking out. I don't get to see many games in person, so I'm going to take an opportunity this week to go see the Bears. I wish y'all best of luck this season and on Thursday night, and I hope maybe we can check back in with you as the season goes on.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Once again, thanks to Cottonwood head coach Dustin Harrison for coming on this week's edition of the Wiregrass High School Football Report. And now we're going to jump into the schedule for week one, and starting on Thursday, August 25th, Northside Methodist 1-0 will be at Cottonwood, who is playing their first official game of the season. On Friday, 8/26, we're going to start up in 7A Region 2. We've got a few region games this Friday, more non-region than region, but we do have a few region games being played on Friday. Lee Montgomery will be at Dothan. Dothan's 1-0. Lee Montgomery's 0-1, losing Saturday night to Sidney Lanier. Of course, you can listen to this game on 96.9 The Legend with Jerry Coleman and Ken Lambert and myself on the call. Of course, Jerry and Ken will be there at the game at Repuse. I'll be back at Studio Control, keeping you updated on all the scores around the Wiregrass. Auburn will be at Enterprise, a battle of 1-0 teams. Some big matchups early on in region play to start off. You want to start 1-0 in region play. That's always big games, that first one. Providence Christian will be at Ashford. Ashford is playing their first game of the season. Providence Christian 0-1 after losing to Highland Home on Friday. Delville at 0-1 will be at 1-0 Houston Academy. Opp at 0-1 will be at New Brighton, who's 0-1 as well. 1A Region 2, Brantley 1-0 will be at Houston County, who's 0-1. Elba at 1-0 will be at Kinston, who is 1-0. And so non-region matchups, you'll have Red Level at Florella, Headland at Abbeville, Laverne at Geneva County. Battle of two teams playing their first game. Slocomb will be at GW Long. Rehoboth hasn't played a game yet. They will be at Wicksburg. Goshen 1-0 will be at Inside Chapel, who's playing their first game. Ayrton is 1-0 playing at 1-0 Highland Home. That should be a fun game. Andalusia 1-0 at Milton, Florida. Milton, Florida has not played a game this year. Calhoun has not played a game. They will be at 0-1 Barber County. Mary Montgomery 0-1 will be at Charles Henderson, who's 0-0 on the year. Stanhope Elmore 0-1 will be at Eufaula. Eufaula kicking off the season. The Jarrell Jernigan Air begins this Friday there at Eufaula. And then to close out, Geneva 0-1 will be at Bozeman, Florida, who is 0-1 on the season. And that is going to do it for this week's edition of the Wiregrass High School Football Report. Appreciate you guys checking out the show. We'll be back next week to recap all of the week 1 action here in the Wiregrass and look ahead to week 2. Of course, have another winning coach here on the show. Remember, you can follow me on social media at PJordanSEC. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, 969thelegend.com, and on my YouTube channel, Phillip Jordan Sports YouTube. On Apple Podcasts, please follow, rate, and review. Leave a review. I will read it on a future edition of the show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell for all notifications. And on the Wiregrass High School Football Report episodes, if you leave a comment on one of the videos, I will read that on a future edition as well. You can always email me at sports.philipjordan@gmail.com. Go out this weekend, Thursday or Friday night. Go check out some high school football. Until next time, bye-bye.